Coaches, the Varsity Sports Show wants to be part of your team in 2023. We have a proven track record of providing the most coverage of your teams with Thursday and Friday night football. We will spotlight your players with multi-camera game broadcasts, pre- and post-game interviews, and segments on our Saturday morning radio show. With over 100 games broadcast in 2022, we will be exceptional for your team. Call, text, or email 480-220-4629 or info@varsitysportshow.com.
Hello and welcome to this week's Varsity Weekly episode. I'm your host, Mary Grace Armistead, and in this episode we have a little bit of everything, from covering multiple Arizona events to inside interviews and your coverage of Arizona high school games this week. Now let's hear from Brandon.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Varsity Sports Show. I'm your host, Brandon Tran, and I got a special guest on the Zoom call today. I got the head coach for Ottawa men's volleyball team in Kyle Seal. How are you, Kyle?
Doing well, man. How are you? Thanks for having me on.
Thank you for coming on for today's show. And what are you proud about this team this year?
I think I'm just proud of their resilience. I think when you play in the league that we play in and as many top 5 games as we played this year, and just to keep coming back and fighting and play their best volleyball at the end of the season, I think we peaked at the right time and had a really good national tournament. So,
and the team finished like 14-9, 5-5 in the GSAT. And what was the biggest improvement you saw from the team, and you saw the team learning from that?
I think just learning how to finish matches late in games. I think I think we had to go through it a little bit this year. I think we lost something like 13 sets by 2 points this year, so we were very, very competitive even in all of our losses. And most people look at a 5-5 record in conference and don't think that's very good, but we were still number 4 in the country and finished 5th in the country. And there were 5 teams from the West out of 12 at national tournament, and 4 of them from our conference. So, I'm just proud of the way that they fought all year long.
And what was the biggest challenge this team faced during the season?
I think just strength of schedule. I think we made some improvements this year, and our offense was, a top 5 offense all year, and we had no trouble scoring the ball most of the year. But we, just the strength of schedule we played, I think everybody got better, and Vanguard winning the national championship in our league, and Masters being ranked number 1 for a while, and Menlo was at the national tournament is very good. So, just having us to have to go through it, is just one of the toughest things was just our strength of schedule, which also made us, tough in the end. So.
And what do you think was the biggest win of this season? I'm pretty sure that it has to be the Riders Up in Benedictine Mesa to start.
Yeah. I mean, it's always good to beat your crosstown rival, and especially when they've been to 3 straight national finals. And to get them in a reverse sweep at home was in front of an absolutely electric crowd was probably definitely one of the highlights of the year, and probably our most complete win that we had. And we played some other, matches well, beating Masters at home and things. But yeah, the reverse sweeping Benedictine at home is always a good time for us. So,
and that's like in the beginning of the season too.
Yeah. So I think kind of everybody was excited about season. I think we had maybe 500 people in the stands. It was a packed house, so it was a lot of fun.
And what was the biggest takeaway during the season?
I think just proving that we can be a sustainable program over time. I think back-to-back top 5 finishes nationally, with a whole different group this year. I mean, our starting core was not the same this year, not even close as it has been in years past. So doing it with new players and sustaining, I think, program excellence is, it's hard to break into that top echelon of volleyball programs or any kind of programs, and then to stay there for a couple of years is even harder. So I think I think I'm most proud about this group, just rebounding and finding their own identity and still having a great finish.
And what do you think? What do you think you're gonna do during this off season, moving forward and going to next season?
Well, we lost 10 seniors this year, so I got some recruiting to do. We'll have some replacing to do and some holes to fill. But we've got a nice core base coming back as well. So I'll be doing a lot of recruiting coming up here. I also just recently took a side gig. I'm coaching on the coaching staff for a professional team in the NBA called Southern Exposure. It's a Florida-based team. So I've got 4 or 5 events coming up this summer where I'll be coaching some pro guys, which will be some fun for me. And then, get some camps in over the summer and stuff like that, and get ready for the fall when everybody comes back.
And how much you will miss having these seniors on the roster, since you mentioned you have 10.
Yeah, it's really a lot of the culture guys too. I mean, we're losing the big chunk, and as people kind of know that follow us, we kind of call ourselves the Ducks and have this kind of duck culture that we pride ourselves on. And many of the guys that started that and were a part of that and carried that on for a couple of years are leaving us. So I think we're just going to miss the locker room culture the most probably, and just trying to have to redefine our identity a little bit next year. And that'll be interesting to see without a bunch of these guys that have been so awesome for this program and been so awesome for the culture of the program.
All right, Kyle Steele. Thank you for coming on this show.
Yeah, no problem. Anytime, man. So appreciate you.
As this is the Varsity Sports Show, I'm Brandon Tran. I hope to see you all next time.
Thank you, Brandon. Now let's hear from Sabrina.
Started. Welcome back to the Coaches Spotlight on the Varsity Sports Show. I'm your host, Sabrina, and I'm here with none other than from Mesa Community College head cross-country coach, Dan Pascador. How are you doing, Dan?
Good. Thank you. How about you?
I'm good. I've heard you already had a busy day with draining the pit.
Yes. Had to manually empty out some water, but all in the day's work.
It's okay. It's all in a day's work. So like I introduced, you are the head cross-country coach at Mesa Community College and everything. You're already in your 6th year, actually, as coach over there, but 5th year head coach for the cross-country for men's and women's. In general, I always like to ask, what kind of got you started into the role of being a coach in general?
Yeah, for me, I was fortunate enough to have good mentors, good coaches when I was running, and that's just kind of something that I knew I wanted to do. I mean, my coaches made a big impact in my life, and a lot of the choices that I've made was because of the influence of my coaches. And I've just been a big fanatic with sports. It's just been a big part of who I am, and I just want to be able to do the same thing what my coaches did for me. So if I can help out kids along the way to become better adults, better people, I mean, I'm all for it. And that's really what I'm in it for, is to just be that positive influence in someone's life.
Yeah, and obviously from player or runner basically to coach, it's kind of a big jump in a way, because there's 2 different perspectives you're able to see. That first year when you remember of you coaching, what was kind of that like that shock or that reality check that you're like, oh, it's quite different from being a runner to being a coach and everything? What was kind of that big change that you noticed in that first year when you started coaching?
Yeah, I would say just the confidence standpoint, meaning like as an athlete, I was kind of unsure of some of the things that I could do, and now I'm in that opposite position, telling kids, hey, you really are capable of this. So it's really just getting that buy-in of like, oh, now I'm on the other side of what coaches used to tell me. And for me, it was easy to put the work in because I was not that good. So I just had to try extra hard. So the biggest shock is just seeing just how talented some kids are and not work as hard. That can be a difficult task to get them to get that work ethic in, but that's part of what I enjoy about the challenge for sure.
Yeah, and so we talked about, so far it's been a pretty short career. You have much more of your career ahead of you, but you've already had, some of your athletes already have had success, that they've been under you and everything. And a lot of times, a lot of credit does go to the athlete, but another piece of it does have to go to the coaching, the tips and tricks that, you're giving them as well. So far in your coaching career, what has been the highlight? What has been like that most memorable moment so far?
Definitely this year. We build off of every year, and we've been pretty fortunate to have a very good women's team over the years. But the highlight for sure had to have been, it's very bittersweet. We were national runner-up on the women's side. We missed the national championship by 1 point. So that was a bittersweet moment. We did improve better than last year. We were third. But on the men's side, I had the individual national champion, and hands down, that was the biggest just positive highlight, because this kid never even went to state when he was in high school, and now he's a national champion. So that so far has taken the cake for sure.
My last question for you is, because we talked about, you're a little bit of a runner. You've been in your athlete shoes, you've been in their shoes. Are they going to be able to see you at practice, putting on those shoes and running with them just for the last couple practices, maybe?
Well, I mean, I run at the same time, so if that counts as running with them, I'll do my 2 miles at a very slow pace, though. So I jump in as much as I can, but I'm like, I'll do my thing, and they'll always ask me, how far did you run? I'm like, well, if you could call what I did running, I ran 2 miles. So these days I just jog and stroll.
But it's something, as an athlete, you love seeing, when your coach participates and everything, even if it's,
Yeah.
even if they don't think it's, as great, it's always a good time just seeing, the coach obviously, join and have fun in a way, especially with it being Arizona and, track being outside, you kind of like struggling with them with the Arizona heat as well. So it's always a good time too. But Coach
Definitely.
Buswell, thank you so much for being here. I really do appreciate, you being a part of the segment and being part of the show, just talking to us a little bit about, what it is that you do at Mesa Community College, and, the greatness that's happening and a great career that is to come.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate your time as well, and I appreciate being here.
In 2019, the JV Sports Show podcast began with the idea of spotlighting young people in our community. In time, that podcast evolved into radio, television, and live stream, and through that evolution, new ideas have enhanced delivery, giving a stage to students both in front of and behind the microphone in Arizona and beyond. Thank you for supporting the Varsity Sports Show, now the Varsity Media Foundation, a 501c3 educational organization.
Welcome back, everyone. Now let's hear from Jacob, who's at the Sagaro baseball game.
All right, so we are here with the winning pitcher of today's playoff game, Cade Schumart. Cade, you were phenomenal tonight. The strikeouts were just incredible. What was your strategy? I mean, what going into the game were you thinking that was going to lead to such success in this game?
Knew can't take anybody lightly, so I just went out there, did my thing, tried to keep the game as close as possible.
All right, and your curveball, slider, all of those pitches were working so well. What do you do in practice that kind of contributes to that success?
I just work on getting my hand out early. Fastball, just hoping it's there every day, but curveball, slider mix is usually there, so you just hammer off that.
Hoping to see you in the rest of the postseason. Thanks again, Cade.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Back to you.
Thank you, Jacob. Now let's head over to Brandon, who is with the seniors of the Sagaro baseball team.
Hey, this is Brandon Tran for the Varsity Sports Show. I'm here with the Saguaro Sabercats, 7 seniors. There's Tara Nelson, you got Kayla Sorman, you got Eli Bumper, Connor Cheney, and Jacob Chavez, Donovan Davis, and Dougie McKinney. How does it? What does it mean to be winning this game and being like for a Desert Sky champ?
Spectacular feeling, We worked really hard to be here.
Job's not finished.
And what will you miss for playing your last year at Saguaro?
It's really sad.
Fellow teammates.
Yeah, fellow teammates.
The family that we have.
Bus rides, family.
Bus rides.
Forget about me, I love you, family. It's an acronym.
I like the kid later.
And I think this question is for Caleb. You started the game with zero out, with 0 outs, getting out to those rough innings. What does it mean to get out of that inning, keeping your team in it?
It means a lot. It's been a long journey, a lot of injuries and recovery, and it just feels good to be back out there.
And this question's for you. What will you miss playing at this school?
Probably the friends and family. This team was always a lot of fun to play with.
And this question for Tanner: what's your most favorable memory of Saguaro?
It's probably winning a region title now. That's probably my new favorite memory here. So yeah.
And I think this question's for you. Like when you said the job's not done, I think Dougie said that. Yeah, when you said the job's not done, what do you hope to expect during the playoff?
Obviously, big picture, get a ring on their finger, state championship is a big picture, 100%.
All right. Thank you to all those seniors. This was a memorable day for the senior day. Back to you, Jake.
Thank you.
Hey guys, Vince here to talk about Angel Dentistry. It's where my wife and I have gone for over 10 years, and we trust them with our routine and extensive dental care because they care. Dr. Amber Angel is an Arizona native, born in the town of Miami, and has been practicing in the Valley over 20 years. For general to comprehensive dental services, call 602-788-2008. Located off of Cave Creek Road just north of the 101 in North Phoenix. Angel Dentistry, proud supporters of our young people and proud partners of the Varsity Sports Show.
Welcome back. Let's go to Brett, who has an exclusive interview.
So, Coach, what has been the key driving factor for your guys' success this season? You guys you won your section, the 3A section, the Northwest Valley section, was it? You can correct me if I'm wrong, but you guys were undefeated in that. What would you say was the key success to your guys' dominant season so far heading into the playoffs?
I would say all around good baseball and consistency. Our starting pitching did a great job. They didn't give up a lot of runs. They kept us in every game, and our hitters scored a lot of runs. I mean, we hit the ball well. It's a good group of kids that just play good fundamental baseball.
All right. And now that you are in the playoffs, is there any difference in your coaching philosophies towards the team? Is there going to be any different adjustments you're going to make now that you're in the playoffs that you didn't really use in the regular season? Or is it kind of going to be the same message that you're going to preach to your players?
No, it'll definitely be the same thing. I mean, I think if you're playing the game the way you're supposed to all season long, nothing changes for the playoffs. You just continue to go out and do the things that you've been doing that have made you successful throughout the season. And those same things should be the recipe for success in the postseason also.
All right. And piggybacking off that a little bit, so you guys are the 2 seed coming into the tournament. What are you going to say to your team to make sure, obviously it's a 2 versus 15 seed, but what are you going to say to your team to make sure they don't take Odyssey Institute lightly and you guys play like you know you're capable of and be that dominant high seed that you can?
I think it's kind of been the same message that we've had all year, where we've played really well. We've we've ruled quite a few teams. You have a tendency as a team maybe to look at someone and look at their record and be like, we should take them out. Like there shouldn't be much of a game to it. But as soon as you look at a team that way, whether it's regular season or postseason, is when you get bit by it. You have to come into every game expecting a battle, because you never know what's going to happen. Especially you see this a lot in 3A baseball, is a team may not have a great overall record, but you could run into, they may have that one guy that's on the mound that's really good. And you may be the team that draws that guy. So, you can't come in expecting, we played him earlier in the year and we're able to beat them. But who knows, teams progress over the course of a season. You don't know if you're going to see the same pitchers as you did last time. And you got to hope that your pitchers go out and pitch up to their capabilities that they did earlier in the year.
Okay, and speaking off of that a little bit, speaking of your pitchers or players in general, who would you say have been the key players for your team thus far, and or who do you think you can rely on to set the tone starting this first game on May 2nd and through hopefully the remainder of the playoffs for your team?
The good thing about our team is, we're made up of one senior, 10 juniors, and one sophomore. Like that's been our team all year long. And so while we have, both of our starting pitchers have done extremely well all year long, and we have 1 to 9 through our lineup hitting wise that, they've all done a great job, and they've all hit for average. They've drove in runs, move runners, steal bases. So that's what's nice is like, I'm not going in there going, man, I hope these two guys, my one starter and on the mound and these two guys in the middle of my lineup carry our team. It's nice to if one or two guys has an off day, that we have multiple guys in front of or behind them that pick them up. And so that's been a nice thing for us that we've had all season.
All right, and last question here, Coach. What would a championship mean for this program, and especially for these specific players that you've had on the team this year and that you've witnessed so far? What would a championship mean for how hard the players have worked this season?
Well, it would just solidify what we did last year. So obviously winning the title last year was awesome. And I think 5 of the guys that I have, 5 are sophomores. So I think I have maybe 6 returners right now that were on that team. So we were pretty young last year because 5 of them were sophomores. And so to be able to go and do it again would just kind of solidify, I think, for these guys, just how much talent they have, how good they are, how hard they work, to go out and perform at a high level and repeat, because as soon as you win, like the target's on your back, like you're the one that everyone's shooting for, the people that everyone wants to knock down. So it's up to these guys to go out and perform like they're capable of and show, it wasn't a fluke, it wasn't a mistake. They play hard, they work hard, they have talent, and for them to do it again would just kind of solidify that.
All right. Well, that's all I have. Thank you so much for the time, Coach. And I wish you guys the best of luck through the remainder of the playoffs.
Awesome. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Brett. Unfortunately, this is the end of Varsity Weekly for this week. But follow us on Twitter at Varsity Show and tune in next week's Varsity Weekly. This is your host, Mary Grace Armstead.
Coaches, the Varsity Sports Show wants to be part of your team in 2023. We have a proven track record of providing the most coverage of your teams with Thursday and Friday night football. We will spotlight your players with multi-camera game broadcasts, pre- and post-game interviews, and segments on our Saturday morning radio show. With over 100 games broadcast in 2022, we will be exceptional for your team. Call, text, or email 480-220-4629 or info@varsitysportshow.com.